Nobody warns you when the world is about to flip inside out. You just wake up, groggy, reach for your phone, and realize your alarm never went off, even though you set it like always. That's how my Thursday started. Off by a few minutes, but I didn't even think about it at first. I'm just an average guy, nothing special. I work remote tech support from a messy one-bedroom apartment in Springfield, Missouri, where the weirdest thing you usually see is a neighbor letting his dog pee on your tire. But this morning, the air tasted different, like metal. I noticed it when I opened the fridge and found a half-eaten sandwich from last night was bleeding out a puddle of reddish water, even though it was just ham and cheese. I stared at it for a full minute, thinking maybe I cut my hand and didn't notice. But no, the skin was unbroken. I tossed the sandwich and ignored it, blaming cheap groceries. I should have noticed more. Outside, some guys in military gear parked a blacked-out van in front of the building. Not city police, not even the National Guard. No logos, just dudes with crew cuts standing around like they were waiting for something. I watched them from behind my curtains as I sipped my coffee, my brain trying to process if this was just another protest response, or maybe a drug bust gone sideways. Except nobody went in or out. They just stood there, looking up and down the block, and every once in a while one of them would wipe something from his sleeve. Looked like blood, but it could have been oil. I didn't really care enough to call anyone. It's not my circus. My day was already off. Usually I get a dozen texts before 9 a.m. My mom checks in on me too much. My buddy Ryan sends me dumb memes about the NBA. Even the group chat from college blows up about nothing. Today, silence. Even my ex, who never lets me forget how much happier she is without me, hadn't posted her usual sad breakfast selfie. I was almost grateful for the quiet, until I realized my phone said no service. Not even Wi-Fi calling. I checked Twitter, Reddit, the news. There was talk of some solar flare, a warning about unstable signals, but the stories kept contradicting themselves. Local news said everything was fine, but the live comments were nothing but people screaming about sirens in the street, helicopters circling, ambulances that never reached the hospital. That's when the coughing started. It was everywhere, in the hallway, on the street, in the apartment above me, people hacking up deep, wet, brutal coughs that made you want to swallow your own breath. I cracked my door to listen. My neighbor, old Mrs. Kent, who always waters her plants at the same time every morning, was standing outside her door, holding a potted fern like a baby, and coughing so hard she doubled over and hit her head on the wall. She looked up at me with watery eyes and just shook her head. "Stay inside, Trevor," she croaked. "It's not safe out there." I mumbled, sure, but she was already shuffling back into her apartment, dragging the plant behind her. I heard a thud a few seconds later, but when I called out to her, she didn't answer. I tried her doorknob. I went back inside, shut every window, and locked the door. The blood moon was tonight. People had been posting about it for weeks. All these TikToks about vibes and manifesting and supernatural energy. I thought it was dumb. But now I couldn't shake the feeling that the world was holding its breath. I tried calling Ryan, then my mom, then anyone. Nothing. I kept refreshing my browser, but everything loaded slow or not at all. One headline finally loaded: "Do not go outside. The blood moon has awakened them," in bold, all caps, on a local Facebook group. I laughed out loud because it was the kind of thing people posted to get attention, but then the comments were just lines of red exclamation marks and "It's real" and "Stay inside." No details, just panic. That's when I saw the first one. Through the peephole, down the hallway, there was a guy in a hoodie slumped against the elevator, blood dripping from his hands, breathing heavy and muttering. I watched him swipe at the door, then stagger up, turn his head, and I swear his eyes were black, like no light got in. He licked the blood off his fingers and smiled. At nothing. At the door? At the ceiling? I don't know. He shuffled away before I could react. Something was happening, but there was nobody to call. My phone was dead. My laptop only loaded garbage, and the only sounds were coughing, the distant groan of the elevator, and that damned military van's engine humming below my window. I tried to be logical. I went through my kitchen, took stock. 3 cans of soup, a pack of ramen, some bottled water. Not enough for more than a few days. My mind started spinning. Should I leave? Stay? Board up the windows? I grabbed my old baseball bat from under the bed and stuck it by the door, just in case. I shut every curtain, blocked the sliding glass balcony door with a chair. It wasn't enough. I kept thinking about that guy in the hallway, the way he looked right through me. Was he sick? On drugs? Was it just paranoia? Maybe. But when the sky started to turn, just barely, red, bruised, heavy, I knew I couldn't just ignore it. I texted Ryan one last time. "You seeing this? Don't go outside." No reply. So I sat down on the floor with my back against the door, clutching my bat, listening to the city go quiet. That's when I realized the real apocalypse doesn't start with explosions or monsters tearing down the streets. It starts with a Thursday that's just a little bit wrong, and the blood moon rising, and you sitting there alone, too scared to even check the peephole again. I waited, heart pounding, as the first real screams echoed from somewhere deep in the building. I didn't move. I didn't want to know. I just kept telling myself, do not go outside. The screams didn't stop, they just changed. At first it was a few, raw and wild, then dozens, echoing through the pipes and vents, bouncing off the peeling paint in my apartment until every breath felt too loud. I pressed my ear to the door and heard running feet, someone banging down the hallway, yelling for help. Then a crash. I couldn't do anything but grip my bat tighter. My phone buzzed suddenly, nearly making me drop it. The screen flickered on. Ryan. It was a text, but not in his usual words, just, "Let me in, please. 14th floor. I'm on the 10th. He must be here, I thought, or somewhere above me. I wanted to answer, to help, but when I tried to call, the line went dead before a single ring. I checked outside the peephole. The hallway was empty again, except for a trail of blood leading toward the stairs. My heart hammered. But if Ryan was here, maybe I could help him. Maybe it would all make sense. Maybe it was just a riot, a gas leak, something logical. I unlocked the door as quietly as I could, holding my breath, and stepped out. I could smell copper, sharp and sweet. The lights were out at the far end, the exit sign glowing red in the dark like a warning. I moved down the hallway, keeping my back to the wall, listening for anything human. Every door was shut tight except one, where someone had smeared a bloody handprint above the number. I kept moving. The stairs were sticky underfoot, my sneakers sliding in something I didn't want to think about. I kept climbing, counting every breath. The building was silent, except for a low humming like a generator working overtime, and a distant scraping sound from above. At the 14th floor, the door was propped open with a shoe. Blood pooled in the hinge. I stepped inside, bat raised, and called out, "Ryan?" The hallway looked like a war zone. Pictures knocked off the walls, broken glass everywhere, and something scrawled in blood across the door at the end. "Do not go outside." I walked toward the noise, soft, animal-like breathing behind one of the apartment doors. My hand shook as I tried the handle. It was locked. I knocked, whispering, "Ryan, it's me." Silence. Then a shuffling, like something dragging itself across the carpet. I waited, hardly breathing, and suddenly the door jerked open a crack. Ryan's face was half in shadow, eyes wild, blood smeared across his mouth and neck. He looked terrified, not of me, but of something behind him. "They're everywhere," he hissed. "Don't let them see you." He tried to pull me in but hesitated, peering into the hallway as if expecting someone or something else. I pushed my way inside and locked the door behind me. The apartment was trashed, Furniture overturned, a baseball bat and kitchen knife on the table. He grabbed my arm, whispering too fast. They changed. It's not a disease. It's something else. The moon, man, the moon. He broke down crying, snot and blood mixing, shaking all over. I tried to steady him. I kept asking what he meant, but he just repeated it. It's the moon. I saw her. Mrs. Kent, she wasn't right. She bit her own hand off. She smiled at me with a mouth full of blood. They're not dying. They're changing. I wanted to believe it was just trauma, that he was confused, but he was shaking, his clothes soaked in sweat and blood, and there were deep scratches on his forearms. He kept glancing at the window, where the sky was a horrible red, brighter than I'd ever seen. The blood moon was rising higher, huge and swollen, lighting up the city in that nightmare glow. We tried the phones again. Nothing. I checked the TV. Just static, flickering red and black, the words emergency alert scrolling endlessly. We moved through the apartment, blocking the windows, moving furniture in front of the door. Down below, the military van was gone, but the street was full of shapes. Dozens of them, walking slow, hunched, like their bones didn't fit right under their skin anymore. They stopped every few feet, staring up at the sky, then back at the windows. I felt them watching us, even from 5 stories up. Ryan wouldn't stop shaking. He kept muttering about the blood moon, how it woke them up, how we weren't safe anywhere, not even inside. I told him to help me check the locks, but he just stared at his hands, flexing them like he didn't recognize them. That's when I saw the bite, deep, ragged, on his wrist. I asked what happened, and he jerked his hand away, suddenly furious. It doesn't matter. It's not like before. It's not a virus. Don't you get it? I can feel it inside me. He pressed his forehead to the glass, watching the street below. Suddenly, pounding at the door, someone from another apartment, screaming, begging to be let in. A woman's voice, shrill and desperate. I wanted to open it, to help, but Ryan grabbed me, eyes black and wild. Don't, she's not herself. The pounding grew more frantic, then stopped. Heavy silence. I tried to catch my breath, but every sound felt magnified, every shadow alive. Outside, the blood moon climbed higher, and I watched as more people gathered in the street, dozens turning to hundreds, all staring up, mouths open in silent worship. Some fell to their knees, some started to tear at their own skin, blood running in rivers down their arms. I turned away, fighting down bile. Ryan slumped against the wall, eyes shut, mumbling, "Don't let them in, don't go out there, don't look at the moon." He started scratching at his own skin, drawing blood. I pulled him away, dragged him into the bathroom, locked the door. He cried, whispered apologies, begged me not to leave him, but I could feel it too. Something pressing against the walls, something hungry and ancient, waiting for us to open a window, just once. I sat on the floor with my back against the bathroom door, bat across my lap, the whole apartment shaking with distant screams. My head ached, my eyes burned, and Ryan kept whispering about the moon, about how it was always waiting for this. I knew then there was no going back. The world wasn't sick, it was changing. Bending under a red sky. The blood moon had awakened them, and nobody was ready. Not me, not Ryan, not anybody. All I could do was hold on and hope the door would hold until morning, if morning even mattered anymore. We lost track of time in the bathroom, the world shrinking to a sweating, trembling box of tile and muffled panic. Ryan pressed his ear to the door, his body rigid, every muscle strung tight as a cable. I heard scraping outside, someone dragging something heavy down the hall, slow and deliberate, not like a human at all. My hands ached from gripping the bat. I tried not to look at Ryan's bite, but he kept pulling up his sleeve and scratching at it like it was alive. The walls felt thinner with every minute, as if the building itself was starting to rot from the inside. Eventually, the screams outside turned to a sort of animal wailing, echoing up from the street, 100 voices blending into one. The air in the bathroom felt poisoned, hot and thick, and every breath tasted faintly of blood. Ryan sat against the tub, knees up, mumbling prayers and curses in the same breath. I was losing my grip too, my thoughts chasing themselves in circles. Should I try to leave? Should I fight? Should I just open the door and run? The red light leaking around the curtains made the whole place look like the inside of a wound. Then, sudden silence, the kind that swallows every little sound. Ryan looked up, eyes unfocused, face pale as death. "They're coming," he whispered, and the hairs on my arms stood straight up. I crawled over to him, tried to snap him out of it, but he just stared right through me. He started muttering about his mom, about how he never called her back, about the first time we met in college. The human stuff, the stuff you think about right before you break. Almost cried. I almost let myself believe we'd get out. Then came the pounding, heavy, bone deep, something slamming against the apartment door again and again. Each hit made the whole place shudder. The pounding stopped, replaced by a new noise, glass shattering in the living room, the shriek of wood splintering. I looked at Ryan. He was sweating rivers, lips moving with no sound. "Don't open it," he whispered. But I had to move. I slid out of the bathroom, crawling on my belly, keeping low as I made for the kitchen. The window was smashed, glass everywhere, a freezing breeze spilling in under the blood moon's glow. Shadows flickered across the floor, too many shapes, all wrong. I saw a woman from our floor standing in the corner, skin hanging off her face like wet paper, eyes black and gleaming. She didn't see me, not yet, but she sniffed the air, her head cocking side to side. I slid back into the bathroom, heart hammering so hard I thought I'd puke. Ryan was slumped against the tub, shaking, eyes rolling up. I tried to pull him up, but he shoved me away, snarling, "Go, get out! Don't let me hurt you!" It wasn't Ryan's voice anymore. It was deeper, guttural, almost inhuman. He grabbed my bat and swung at the wall, splintering tile, howling. I backed away, tears in my eyes, begging him to snap out of it. He lunged, grabbing my arm, nails biting into my skin. For a second, I saw the real Ryan flicker behind his eyes. "Run," he whispered, then let go. I stumbled back into the hallway, the air now thick with the smell of blood and rot. The building was alive with movement, feet pounding, bodies slamming into walls, doors splintering. The infected were everywhere. Their faces familiar but ruined, mouths wide and red. I dodged past the woman in the kitchen, who swung at me with broken fingers, her voice a wet gargle. I made it to the stairwell, sprinted down flights that seemed to last forever, every step echoing with screams and howls above and below. I passed bodies, some twitching, some dragging themselves along the floor, all staring with those black, empty eyes. The front door was shattered. The street outside was chaos, fires burning, cars smashed together, people running and falling and getting back up wrong, moving like puppets on broken strings. I didn't stop. I ran, feet slapping on concrete, breath tearing my throat raw. I looked back once, saw the apartment lit up like hell with that red moon, windows full of faces pressed to the glass, watching, waiting. I kept running, ducking into an alley, hiding behind dumpsters as more of them shuffled by, eyes locked on the sky, skin blistering under the blood moon. I wanted to call for help, but my phone was dead. I wanted to find a cop, a doctor, anyone. But the only people out here were monsters or prey. I found an unlocked door to an abandoned shop, barricaded myself inside with old chairs and boxes. I sank to the floor, sobbing, every muscle burning, the taste of fear sharp as metal in my mouth. I could hear them outside, sniffing, calling to each other in voices that sounded almost human but not quite. I clutched the bat to my chest, tried to block out the memories. Ryan's eyes, the woman's face, the way the world bent under that blood moon. The rules were gone. The world was gone. All I had left was the thin line between what I used to be and what I was becoming. Whatever that meant, whatever the blood moon had awakened, I lay there, watching the red glow leak through the boarded windows, knowing I'd have to move again, knowing I'd never be the same. And as the moon climbed higher and the city howled, I realized it wasn't about survival anymore. It was about who you were willing to become when there was nothing left to lose.